Love isn't constant attention, it's consistent presence. Many people confuse the idea of love with the notion of being endlessly available, always talking, always checking in, and never allowing space. But that kind of constant attention doesn't create strength, it creates dependence. Real love is deeper than momentary intensity. It is not measured by how many hours someone spends clinging to you, but by how reliably they are there when it matters most. Presence is what anchors a relationship. It is the quiet knowing that when the storms come, when the world feels heavy, or when joy overflows, the person you love will not vanish. That is the difference between attention and presence. Attention is situational, presence is foundational. When someone is only giving attention, they are reacting to surface level moments. They may text a lot today, call constantly this week, and then suddenly fade away when life distracts them. Attention is scattered. It depends on mood, convenience, or desire. Presence, on the other hand, is steady. It is not based on fleeting emotions, but on commitment. A person who gives presence doesn't need to announce it every second, because it can be felt without words. Presence is the reason why you feel secure even during silence, because silence does not equal distance when love is real. Constant attention often comes from insecurity. It is the fear that if I stop showing up in every single moment, you will forget me. It is love drenched in anxiety, where validation becomes the currency of connection. That kind of love eventually suffocates because it doesn't allow room for individuality. Presence works differently. It says, I trust you enough to give you space. I trust our bond enough to step back when needed, without fearing that distance will break us. This trust transforms relationships because it shifts love from clinging to belonging. You don't need constant reassurance when presence is genuine. Consider a lighthouse. It does not shout constantly to prove its worth. It simply stands solid and reliable, guiding ships through storms and calm seas alike. It may not always be noticed, but its presence saves lives. Love functions the same way. When it is consistent, it becomes a guiding force. Even when unnoticed in the ordinary routines of life, it provides direction, comfort, and safety. Constant attention may flicker like a candle, but presence is the lighthouse that endures. Another important aspect of consistent presence is how it balances individuality with togetherness. When someone loves you with presence, they allow you to pursue your goals, your passions, and your independence without making you feel guilty for stepping away. They don't demand that every second be shared, because they understand that love flourishes when both people continue to grow. Constant attention often tries to merge two people into one, but presence respects the boundary where two individuals build something stronger together. Presence also carries weight during difficulties. When life gets heavy, attention can disappear quickly. People who love only with attention may vanish when the glow of excitement fades, but presence remains even in the shadows. A person who shows up consistently doesn't need the relationship to be perfect to stay invested. They remain in the hard times, the quiet times, the unglamorous times. That is where love proves itself, not in the constant noise of affection, but in the unspoken loyalty of presence. Even in everyday life, presence has more power than attention. A partner who listens deeply once a day with full focus gives more love than someone who sends 100 distracted messages. A partner who shows up when needed, who notices when you're not okay, who remembers what matters to you, provides more security than someone who floods you with shallow gestures. Love isn't about how often someone looks at you. It's about how deeply they see you. This is why presence feels so rare and so valuable. Anyone can give attention when it's convenient. Very few can sustain presence when it's inconvenient. And when you find someone who chooses presence, you no longer crave constant attention, because you know their love doesn't vanish when the spotlight dims. It lives quietly, consistently, unshaken by distance or silence. Space protects connection without distance, attraction suffocates. At first, this idea may sound counterintuitive, because we are often told that love thrives on closeness, on being together, on constant sharing. And while closeness is important, it is not sustainable if it comes without balance. Just as the body needs to inhale and exhale, relationships need both intimacy and space. When two people are always in each other's faces, without pause or breathing room, what once felt like passion begins to feel like pressure. The spark that brought them together begins to fade, not because love has disappeared, but because love has been smothered by overexposure. Attraction, by its very nature, relies on curiosity. It lives in the tension between knowing and not knowing, between being close and yet slightly apart. When you take away all distance, there is nothing left to imagine, nothing left to anticipate. Love without space becomes predictable, and predictability, though safe, can drain desire. That is why space is not a threat to connection. It is its protection. It ensures that the bond does not collapse under the weight of constant togetherness. Think about a flame. If you cover it entirely, trying to protect it from the wind, you actually suffocate it. Fire needs oxygen to live. In the same way, attraction needs air. It needs distance, moments apart, pauses in conversation, silence between words to remain alive. Too much intensity without breathing room will cause even the most passionate relationship to dim. But when there is balance, when closeness is followed by space, the fire not only survives, it grows stronger. Space also allows individuality to flourish. In healthy love, two people do not lose themselves in each other, they bring their whole selves into the relationship. That means time apart, pursuing separate goals, maintaining personal friendships, and nurturing individual passions. When each partner continues to grow independently, the relationship gains new energy because there is always something fresh to share when they return to each other. Without this distance, sameness sets in, and sameness breeds stagnation. Many confuse distance with disinterest, but they are not the same. Disinterest is neglect, while distance is preservation. Space says, I care enough to let you breathe. I trust enough to let you step away. This trust strengthens connection because it removes the desperation of constant reassurance. When you know someone will return even after space, you stop fearing silence. And that security creates the freedom for both people to be fully themselves. Another dimension of space is how it intensifies longing. When you spend every moment together, you forget to miss each other. But when you take time apart, even briefly, you rediscover the desire to be close. That longing is not weakness. It is the fuel of attraction. Lovers who respect space experience reunion with deeper passion, because absence heightens awareness of presence. It reminds both partners not to take closeness for granted. Even in communication, space is essential. The pause in a conversation makes the words meaningful. The silence between notes makes the music beautiful. In the same way, the gaps in a relationship allow feelings to grow louder. When everything is constant noise, the heart stops listening. But when there is rhythm, moments of closeness, followed by moments of space, the connection becomes more powerful, more enduring, more alive. So, space is not the enemy of love. It is its guardian. Without distance, attraction suffocates, not because love isn't strong, because even love needs air to breathe. Relationships that embrace space discover that what is truly theirs never leaves. It may step back, it may pause, it may go quiet for a while, but it always returns stronger, fresher, and more magnetic than before. Silence isn't absence, it's trust in the bond you share. In a world where constant communication has become the measure of connection, silence is often misunderstood. Many assume that if someone is not speaking, not texting, not constantly checking in, then something must be wrong. But silence can carry a meaning far deeper than words. It is not always emptiness. Sometimes it is the purest expression of trust, the assurance that love is strong enough to survive without noise. When silence exists in a relationship built on insecurity, it feels heavy and frightening. It creates doubt, suspicion, or a sense of rejection. But when silence exists in a relationship built on trust, it becomes comfort. It means I don't need to hear from you every moment to know you're still with me. It means I can sit in the same room with you, say nothing, and still feel understood. This kind of silence does not break the bond, it proves it. Silence as trust shows up in the little things. A long pause on the phone where neither of you rushes to fill the air with chatter. A car ride where music plays but no conversation is needed. An evening together where words fade because presence is enough. These are not empty moments. They are reminders that the bond is strong enough to carry itself without constant effort. Love that requires words every second is fragile. Love that can rest in silence is unshakable. The reason silence becomes trust is because it removes the pressure to perform. When you don't trust someone, you feel the need to prove yourself constantly, to reassure them over and over. But when trust is real, presence itself is reassurance. You don't need to say, I'm here, every 5 minutes because your being there already says it. That's why silence feels safe with the right person. It's not an absence of attention, it's the presence of security. Silence also invites depth. Words, as powerful as they are, have limits. They can describe feelings, but not always capture them. Sometimes the depth of love cannot be spoken, only felt. That's why two people can sit quietly and still feel profoundly connected. In that silence, the heart speaks louder than the mouth ever could. And when two people trust each other enough to allow that space, the bond grows stronger without a single word being exchanged. Another layer to this truth is that silence allows individuality. In love, it's easy to become entangled, to believe you must always be speaking, always doing, always giving. But silence provides room for both partners to breathe, to think, to process, to exist without pressure. It acknowledges that the relationship is not fragile, that it doesn't collapse just because there isn't constant dialogue. Instead, the silence becomes a quiet sanctuary where both can exist freely, together or apart, without fear of losing connection. In times of difficulty, silence can be even more powerful. Words may fail, emotions may overwhelm, explanations may fall short. But the silence of simply sitting beside someone, of holding their hand, of showing up without speeches, can be the greatest act of love. That silence says, I may not have the answers, but I am here with you. It communicates loyalty without language. It builds trust because it shows that love is not dependent on performance, but on presence. Silence, then, is not absence. It is a deeper presence. It is the trust that the bond is strong enough to exist without constant noise. That love is certain enough to rest quietly. And that connection does not always need words to be real. It is the invisible thread that ties two people together, not through what they say, but through what they can feel even in the quiet. True love values your independence as much as her own. Love that is genuine is never about possession or control. It is not about holding someone so tightly that they cannot breathe, nor about demanding that every action revolves around one person. Instead, true love recognizes that freedom is essential, that both people must remain individuals even while being part of something greater together. Independence is not a threat to love, it is the soil that allows it to grow. When both partners value each other's independence, the relationship becomes stronger, healthier, and far more enduring. Independence in love means respecting that each person has a life outside the relationship. It means allowing space for personal ambitions, friendships, and dreams. Too often, people mistake closeness for dependency, believing that if someone really loves you, they will want to spend every second with you. But the opposite is true. When love is real, it gives you wings rather than chains. It encourages you to pursue what matters to you, not because your partner wants distance, but because they want to see you flourish. True love values your independence because it understands that individuality is what makes you attractive in the first place. The qualities that drew someone to you, your passions, your confidence, your goals, do not disappear when you enter a relationship. They are meant to be nurtured. If love tries to erase them, it eventually erases the very spark that created connection. A partner who truly loves you will support the parts of you that exist beyond them, knowing that when you thrive as an individual, the relationship thrives as well. There is also a deep sense of trust in valuing independence. To give someone space requires confidence in the bond. It requires the understanding that love is not fragile. That time apart will not diminish connection, but instead renew it. Insecure love clings, constantly needing reassurance. True love trusts. It says, I don't need to control you to know that you will choose me. That trust is the foundation of lasting intimacy. Without it, the relationship becomes suffocating. With it, the relationship becomes liberating. Another reason independence matters is because love cannot exist without balance. When one person sacrifices all of their individuality, resentment begins to build. They start to feel lost, as though their entire identity is swallowed by the relationship. But when independence is valued, balance is maintained. Both partners can give to the relationship while still maintaining their sense of self. This prevents dependency from turning into control and ensures that love remains a choice, not a burden. True love also recognizes that independence brings freshness. When two people have their own experiences, they bring new energy into the relationship. They have stories to tell, lessons to share, and perspectives to exchange. Without independence, sameness sets in and sameness dulls connection. But when both are growing separately, they bring vitality into their togetherness, keeping love alive with curiosity and discovery. In moments of challenge, independence becomes even more important. A relationship where both partners rely entirely on each other for happiness cannot withstand storms, because when one falters, the other collapses. But when independence is respected, each person has their own strength to lean on. They can support each other without losing themselves. This creates resilience. It means that love is not about leaning so heavily that both fall, but about standing side by side, steady and secure. True love values independence because it is not afraid of it. It understands that freedom does not weaken love, it strengthens it. It sees that two whole individuals choosing to walk together are far stronger than two halves clinging to each other out of fear. Independence is not separation. It is the assurance that love is chosen freely, day after day, not out of necessity, but out of genuine desire. Attention withheld isn't rejection. It's an invitation to grow stronger. In relationships, the instinctive reaction to someone pulling back, going silent, or not offering constant attention is often fear. The mind immediately rushes to conclusion something is wrong, they don't care, or love is fading. But very often, the withholding of attention is not a sign of rejection at all. Instead, it is a subtle space created for growth, for you, for them, and for the bond itself. It is a way of testing whether the connection depends solely on constant validation or whether it has roots deep enough to withstand the quiet. Attention, when given endlessly, can become taken for granted. A steady stream of reassurance, affection, and presence may start to feel less like love and more like background noise. But when attention is occasionally withheld, it breaks the pattern, reminding both people not to overlook its value. That pause is not about punishment, it is about perspective. It gives you the chance to ask yourself, do I measure this relationship only by how much attention I receive, or do I trust the deeper foundation beneath it? In this way, the absence of constant attention becomes an invitation to strengthen independence. When someone does not flood you with continual reminders of their love, you are given the chance to reconnect with your own self-worth. You learn to stand on your own without leaning too heavily on external affirmation. This does not mean love has vanished. It means love is giving you space to grow. A partner who truly values you will not always feed your dependency. Instead, they will allow you to build resilience, knowing that strength makes the bond more enduring. Attention withheld also invites patience. Modern culture often teaches us to demand instant gratification, instant replies, constant contact, immediate reassurance. But relationships built on patience are far stronger than those built on urgency. When attention is not given every moment, you learn to wait without panicking, to trust without demanding, to understand that love is not measured by constant updates. This patience, once developed, removes anxiety from the relationship and replaces it with trust. Another layer to this truth is that withholding attention creates anticipation. Desire does not grow in constant closeness, it grows in the tension of absence and presence. When you experience moments without attention, the eventual return of that attention feels more powerful. The reunion becomes meaningful, the affection feels deeper, and the connection renews itself. Without this ebb and flow, love risks becoming monotonous. With it, love remains dynamic and alive. There is also a hidden respect in the act of withholding attention. It says, I trust you enough to let you be. I don't need to smother you to prove my love. That respect grants freedom. It allows space for individuality, for personal growth, for the pursuit of separate goals. A relationship that values this rhythm avoids the trap of suffocation because it understands that real love doesn't demand constant proximity. It trusts that distance does not weaken connection but strengthens it. At its core, attention withheld is a call to deepen the relationship beyond surface-level needs. It invites both people to look inward, to ask what truly sustains love. Is it constant chatter and reassurance? Or is it the quiet confidence that the bond remains even in silence? By facing this question, the relationship moves from dependency to security, from fear to trust. So when attention is withheld, it is not rejection. It is an opportunity, a chance to strengthen patience, to rediscover independence, to ignite anticipation, and to test the depth of the bond. It is love's way of saying grow stronger, so that when we return to each other, the connection will not just remain, it will deepen. The healthiest relationships breathe in closeness and exhale in space. Just as the body needs the rhythm of inhaling and exhaling to stay alive, love too requires a balance between intimacy and distance. Closeness is the heartbeat of connection. It nurtures comforts and strengthens the bond. But space is what allows that closeness to remain meaningful. Without space, closeness suffocates. Without closeness, space becomes emptiness. The healthiest love exists in the rhythm of both, creating a natural flow where two people come together deeply and then step back to grow individually. Closeness is essential because it builds intimacy. It is in the moments of togetherness, shared conversations, laughter, quiet nights, challenges faced hand in hand, that love takes root. Closeness is where we feel safe, where we are reminded that we are not alone, where we can lean on someone and be seen for who we truly are. Without closeness, relationships remain shallow, unable to sustain the depth needed to endure life's storms. But closeness, when unbalanced, can also begin to weigh heavily. Too much of it, without space, can turn into dependence, making both partners feel suffocated. Space is just as vital as closeness because it preserves individuality. No matter how strong a bond is, each person remains a whole individual with dreams, passions, and a personal journey. When a relationship allows room for both partners to breathe, it gives them permission to grow without guilt. Space encourages time apart, the pursuit of personal interests, and the chance to recharge emotionally. It prevents love from becoming overwhelming because it acknowledges that connection is not about losing oneself, but about bringing one's best self into the relationship. The rhythm of closeness and space also keeps attraction alive. Desire cannot thrive in sameness, it needs contrast. Closeness gives warmth, comfort, and familiarity, while space reignites longing, anticipation, and curiosity. When partners spend time apart, even briefly, the return to closeness feels richer, more appreciated, and more exciting. This ebb and flow prevents the relationship from becoming stagnant, ensuring that love continues to feel alive rather than routine. Another reason this balance is so powerful is that it creates trust. When space is given without fear, it means the bond is secure. It shows that neither partner feels the need to control or constantly monitor the other. Instead, they trust that love does not vanish in absence. This trust builds resilience because both partners learn to be confident in the connection even when they are not physically together. That kind of security is what sustains love over the long term. Closeness and space also protect against resentment. Too much closeness without space can make someone feel trapped, as though their individuality has been swallowed by the relationship. Too much space without closeness, on the other hand, can create distance that feels like neglect. But when both are balanced, neither partner feels smothered nor abandoned. Each feels valued as an individual and cherished as part of a union. This balance ensures that love is not experienced as a burden, but as a choice freely made each day. In difficult times, the ability to breathe in closeness and exhale in space becomes even more important. Closeness provides comfort and unity, reminding both partners that they are not facing challenges alone. Space allows emotions to settle, perspectives to broaden, and personal strength to be regained. Together, they form a cycle that helps the relationship endure not just joy but also struggle. The healthiest relationships understand this rhythm intuitively. They don't cling out of fear, nor do they drift apart out of neglect. They inhale togetherness and exhale independence, creating a love that feels free yet connected, intimate yet spacious, secure yet alive. It is this balance that allows relationships to grow without suffocating, to last without stagnating, and to remain both comforting and exciting through time.